Greetings all, this is Hairy Nick. How you guys going? Yesterday I played my last organised play FFG X-Wing First Edition tournament down at General Games in Frankston. The images up here on the screen are from that event. And I decided it's been a pretty quiet week in terms of news about X-Wing, and I wanted to have a chat about organised play. For those of you who don't know, organised play is the department in FFG that handles all the sanctioned events for all their various games. X-Wing and everything else they do, but basically what I'm going to talk about in this video relates primarily to X-Wing. Because there's a lot going on with organised play. Moving into second edition, there is a massive restructure in the way all the tournaments are run, and over the past month here in Australia, there's actually been a lot of goings on in terms of organised play, sort of not in a good way as well. I'll get onto that in a second. But the article we have here in front of us has been up on the website for quite some time now, and it outlines the structure we have for organised play in X-Wing 2nd Edition. Most notably, we no longer have store champs. We now have what's called hyperspace trials. And basically, these replace store champs. These are going to be any tournament that can be hosted by a store or club that can host the amount of people that would have otherwise been able to be hosted by a store champ. And basically, this means that FFG are allowing any group of people to hold what was a store champ. And the winners of these can get an invite to Worlds, which is a really, really good thing. Indeed, this is one of many signs that we're seeing from FFG that they're trying to get a bit better support around the world. Despite the fact that Worlds is now invite only, if we were going to use the current existing organised play model, that would be very much favouring Americans in terms of accessing that tournament because they have more systems opens and regionals and all that kind of stuff. But with this new model, it hopefully means better access to more people around the world, which means that Worlds should, in essence, be a fair representation of the entire X-Wing world community, which is hopefully what's going to happen. I know a lot of people are skeptical about this. I don't really know what to think myself. I'm just showing you guys this information in case you weren't aware. Apart from the hyperspace trials, which are going to be replacing the store champs and the regionals champs, we have systems opens, which also gives you access to a ticket to Worlds if you're a winner of one of those, and the Worlds tournament itself, which is a once-a-year thing, which has moved from being a ticketed event to an invite-only event. Nothing too crazy in terms of a shake-up. It seems to be more focused around getting the better players into Worlds and making sure the various hyperspace trials around the world is more representation of where the stronger players / where the most players is, which in theory should be how things work. So if everything does go to plan, it should be a positive thing moving forward. Indeed, transparency overall is a good thing. One of the biggest criticisms we have here in Australia is we've never actually got a systems open on this continent, which is very frustrating because a lot of us, me included, feel like we definitely have a large enough community to warrant that. That would be a fantastic thing moving forward. The fact that we still have access to hyperspace trials is fantastic. Hopefully with this new modeling, it means we don't have fewer of these more competitive tournaments. We have 7 major regions or states in Australia, so that equates to 7 regionals. Hopefully that means we get at least 7 hyperspace trials, hopefully like 10, 15. That would be fantastic. If possible, fingers crossed. And hopefully FFG do move forward on this issue and give us access to a systems open. That would be really, really fantastic. Now, before I talk about Australia more in specifics, I do want to point out something very important. Yes, I know as an Australian, I am complaining about a situation which is still a lot better than other places in the world. For example, South America, if you guys are familiar with the Rosalanga Squadron on Facebook, these guys were actually interviewed by Hell of a Pilot, friend of the channel, a local podcast here. They did a special episode back in December last year where they interviewed various players from around the world, and the guys who are part of that club were interviewed and they talked about how they don't have organised play, the issues to do with that. Just as a side note, it is testament to the awesome worldwide community we have in X-Wing that despite the fact that there is no organised play in some areas, it's still a thriving game, which is a lot more than a lot of games can boast, I must say. But in essence, yes, there is this issue. And look, in the ideal world where there's a lot of X-Wing players anywhere in the world, it would get organised play. I do want to point out that there are other issues with various parts of the world, various trade agreements. The ability to get goods shipped around the world is not always as straightforward, say, America to Australia or America to Europe. South America do have issues with their imports where they basically have to open all sealed product when it comes to gaming. This is also a massive issue for Magic the Gathering, just as a side note, in case you guys weren't aware. So there are these unique issues. However, I think it behooves FFG to look at these issues and try to address them individually and make sure where there's a player base for X-Wing or any one of their games, they look at trying to provide organised play to the absolute best of their ability. I think that is only fair. So yes, just to bring that into context, when I'm bringing up issues that we have here in Australia, it could be worse. I do absolutely admit that. However, I will also say, in general, just saying, oh, well, you can't complain because somebody else has it worse is not a good argument. We as gamers should hold ourselves to a higher standard. If it can be better, if it should be better by rights, we should be discussing this kind of stuff. Overall, I'm not generally a negative person when it comes to content on this channel. But when it comes to things like organised play, I think it is worth bringing up these issues because it is such an important pillar of this game. I don't know about you guys. I love X-Wing. I love talking about strategy and all that kind of stuff. But what really keeps me in this game is the community. It's being able to go to game shops, have a really good time. One of the key things in going to a tournament, playing this game for hours on end and not getting bored is the fact that you're having such a good time with people, chatting to them, strategizing, just having a great time with the game. There simply isn't a lot of games out there that can achieve the kind of a community that X-Wing has. So it is something that should be nurtured as much as possible. Organised play is FFG's official way of doing it, and as such should be done to the best of their abilities in every country, as I just said before. The situation recently with Australia has not been that fantastic. I don't think it's clean cut as some people seem to say, but I will just catch you guys up to speed. A lot of you guys, in fact most of you guys that watch this channel are not from Australia or from America or Europe, and the issues I'm talking about relate to our local supply here, Let's Play Games. Let's Play Games, our local supply here in Australia, was recently criticised because of what is considered by many to be lackluster support for the game of X-Wing. What brought this to a head just recently was a complete lack of ordering of store champ kits for this current season of X-Wing. This led to some very last minute scrambling by Let's Play Games and several people in the community who really stepped up and managed to secure for Australia a small handful of store champs kits. There were, for example, in my home state of Victoria, only 3 store champ kits. We usually get around 10 to 15, just to try and put that into context. It's pretty much the same case for the rest of Australia. In the case of one state in particular, Western Australia, the one store champ kits that state was allocated was unfortunately misplaced by the local supplier, and they did not get anything. They still held their store champs. They made up this certificate for the winner saying you get a bite at nationals, but it was not properly supported by the official organised play kit. So look, I'm not going to criticise Let's Play Games directly, but obviously that outcome is unideal. And that is going to rightly make a lot of people very unhappy with what's going on, especially when the landscape of organised play for X-Wing is going to dramatically change soon. When we have to sort of shore up the numbers we have to establish these hyperspace trials in order to show FFG, we need to make sure that the communication between us and FFG is absolutely fantastic, and this kind of result for our store champ kits doesn't really bode all that well. Now, while this is not ideal, I will say that the upshot of all this has been relatively positive. Let's Play Games have actually come out and publicly acknowledged what's going on. They did a recent FAQ session on Facebook, talked about some of the concerns people were having, and this was actually in response to a petition put out by some of the country's community members to try and get FFG to find a new supplier. So look, from a business point of view, of course, Let's Play Games are going to step in and try and remedy the situation, try and earn a bit more favour, because obviously they don't want to lose their contract with FFG. But look, you can be cynical and say, hey, they're only trying to save face. My attitude is a good result is a good result. If they can become more transparent, clue us in better about the whole process of how they get organised play support, or just stock in general from FFG to supply the country, that's a good result nonetheless. And also the upshot of this is Let's Play Games is now posting on our local Facebook groups and telling us when they're getting certain organised play kits and making sure we're up to speed with the whole process with that. Currently the Nationals Championship is up for grabs. The various stores around the country are bidding for the right to host that. And we're having a lot of conversations on Facebook and just a lot more transparency in general. As a side note, if you are an Australian X-Wing player and you want to be part of the conversations, go and join the Oz X-Wing, that's just AUS space X-Wing group on Facebook, and you can see all these conversations happening in real time. Even over the past couple of days, this stuff has been discussed, so definitely go on there if you haven't already. And hopefully moving forward, we have a bit more positivity to say about the state of organised play here in Australia. Obviously, we have a ways to go. We'd love to see systems opens. We'd love to see a good surplus of store champs kits, or hyperspace trial kits as they now are, being supplied on a regular basis. Hopefully we don't see these kinds of issues happening in the future. So I'll definitely be keeping an eye on that. And in the comment section down below, what is the organized play support like where you're from? Obviously a lot of you guys from America. The perception of America, especially here in Australia, is America's quite well supplied when it comes to organized play, but you might not agree with that. Let me know in the comment section what that's like, and we'll have a good chat about this stuff. Things are having a massive shake-up, and it'll be interesting to see what impact that has on the X-Wing community as a whole. So stay tuned, we've got a lot more X-Wing stuff to talk about before the release of 2nd edition. We should hopefully very soon have the National Championship here in Australia announced, so we can start to talk about that as well. Hopefully I'll be able to go and give you guys coverage from that. In the meantime, like and subscribe. Like me on Facebook, follow me on Twitter and Reddit, and I'll catch you guys later on.